All right. Hello, and welcome to Psych 101. I am your professor, Tanisha Stewart. What I want to do is I want to take you through the course just to show you how it works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen and then I'm going to scroll through the different pages of our Blackboard site so that you'll be able to see exactly how the course is structured. All right. So let me share my screen. When you go to our Blackboard site, what you're going to see is that the very first screen that it should open up to is the welcome screen. This basically is just kind of basic. It just has my photo, a little bit of introduction, et cetera, et cetera. If I ever post any announcements, you should get those automatically in your email. But also, if you go to the announcements tab, you'll see that all the announcements for the course will be listed here as well. I did post one earlier today, so that's why you see this one here. All right. So, after that, you're going to go to the course information page. If you go to the course information page, you're going to see a few different things. So, first, you're going to see the course syllabus, where it's going to have the information for our course. It's going to have the textbook information. It's going to have when the assignments are due, all that kind of stuff, how the course is structured, how you're graded, all that good stuff. I would advise you to like look through the syllabus, read through it, just to make sure that you fully understand it before you get started with the course. um, Also, the textbook for this course is provided by OpenStax, so it's a free online resource. If you want to get the PDF version, you could click right here. If you want to get the like just look at it online, you could click the link to lead to it. And also, if you click the link to the online version, you can also, I believe it gives the opportunity if you needed a physical copy of the book, you can actually order a copy from them, and then they'll send it to you. Um, so then after that, we have the course schedule, and I always like to just include this so everybody knows everything from the very beginning. You know how everything is laid out, how all the courses are, or how all the assignments are structured, which what time we're doing each chapter, et cetera, et cetera. So this is the course information page. Then you go to the course content page, and that's where you're going to see once again the welcome. Then you're going to see the course syllabus again. So I like to have it in multiple places just so you'll know that it's always there. The textbook is also there once again. The very first thing that I would need everybody to do is comment for the attendance forum. And this is just because it's an online class, we're not meeting in person. It's always best to try to take attendance in some kind of way, especially since our first set of assignments is not going to be due till February 16th. So if you could just go in here, click on the forum, add your I'm here basically, or here if you want, or present, however you want to say it, just to let me know that you are here in the course. Do that, and then once you do that, then you'll be ready to move straight into completing the assignments. So as you can see, if you scroll down this page, you're going to see that there's 7 different modules here, and they're corresponding to what we just saw when we looked at the course information page. But these are the 7 different modules that we'll be covering. It's basically like trying to look at psychology from a wide spectrum. So the first thing we're going to do is learn more about the history of psychology, research of psychology. Then we're going to go into states of consciousness that people can experience. We're going to talk about sleep, talk about dreams, talk about drug use, hypnosis. A little bit everything is in that module. Then we're going to go into learning and memory. That's 2 separate chapters in that module. One discusses the various forms of learning that we can engage in. The other one discusses various forms of memory, as well as how his memory is constructed, how it's kept, et cetera, et cetera. Then the next module, it goes into psychological disorders and treatment. This is usually the one that people are waiting for throughout the semester. They're like, yeah, this is what I really want to get into. This is what I really want to learn. Well, if you wanted to learn anything about psychological disorders and how they are treated, module 4 is the place to go. After that, we have social psychology, which is another module that has only 1 chapter. Long story short, social psychology is about how we influence each other and how we are influenced by each other. Then we have stress and health, which is module 6. It's talking about like how to cope with stress, different sources of stress, different ways that people become stressed, how different types of stressors can affect us in different ways, as well as strategies for how to manage our stress. And then last but not least, we have our last module, which is basically just our capstone assignment for the semester. And we're going to talk about that briefly. All right. So before we go any deeper, I want to just talk about a couple of different things. So if you look through each one of these modules, all you got to do is just click on the module itself. And if you look through each one, you're going to see that there's different assignments in each one. But you're gonna see that there's 5 different article dissections throughout the semester. You're gonna see that there's 5 different exams throughout the semester. but then there's also a presentation, and then there's another presentation at the end of the semester. So the very first assignment that you're going to have is going to be a presentation type thing. So if you go into module 1, you're going to see that it's chapter 1 and chapter 2 is going to talk about the history of psychology as well as research in psychology. And then the very first assignment is an experiment presentation. So based on the information that you're going to be learning in module 1, you're going to basically design your own experiment. Now, when I say design, it doesn't mean that you have to actually go out and conduct an experiment. So you're not going out there, you're not getting people to get involved, you're not doing all that. All you're doing is just designing an experiment. So you're coming up with an idea for an experiment, basically. So you're going to conduct some kind of background research on it. You're going to come up with your own hypothesis. You're going to come up with your own independent and dependent variables, because every single experiment has independent and dependent variables in it. So the independent variable is the cause, the dependent variable is the effect. So, for example, let's say that I wanted to do um, a study on whether wearing non-slip shoes actually helps in fast food environments. Let's just say I want to see if non-slip shoes versus just regular good old sneakers are going to help better working in a fast food environment. What I would say is that my experiment is going to involve using either non-slip shoes or using regular shoes, and seeing which one is going to work better in that environment. So in this case, my independent variable would be the type of shoe that the person is wearing. So if they're wearing a non-slip shoe versus just a regular sneaker. And then my dependent variable is which one is going to be better in the environment. And I have to define what I mean by better. So if I say that by better, I mean that the person's not going to slip and fall and bust their head. And that's what I mean. The person's not going to slip and fall. They're not going to have any injuries. Let's just say number of injuries, number of slips and falls. So number of injuries and number of slips and falls, I'll say as my outcome variable. So what I could do is I could do some background research. Let's say that I look up a couple of different sites, I look up some journal articles, et cetera, and I find that all the sites are kind of saying that the non-slip shoes are there for a reason. Because if you don't wear the non-slip shoes, you're about to be slipping and sliding everywhere. So let's say I did my research, I found that. What I do is I'm gonna put those citations right into my presentation. So I'm gonna say what the research said, put the citation there, and I'm done with that part. Then I'm going to come up with my hypothesis based on the background research that I just did. So if all my background research is saying that using these non-slip shoes is going to help you not slip and slide and it's going to reduce the injuries, what I'm going to say is that I predict that if I get employees wearing non-slip shoes for a month, that's going to reduce the number of injuries, or they're going to have less injuries, less slips and falls than people who don't wear the non-slip shoes. So let's say that that's my hypothesis. My hypothesis is that those who are wearing the non-slip shoes are going to have less injuries, less slips and falls than the people who are not wearing them. So my independent variable would be the type of shoe, as we said before. So are you wearing the non-slip shoe or the regular shoe? My dependent variable is, did you fall? Did you fall? Did you slip? Did you get injured? That's my dependent variable. Operational definitions, that has to do with how you're specifically defining the variables in your research. So in my case, I already defined my variables. I said non-slip shoe versus regular shoes. So non-slip versus regular, that's how I define my independent variable. How I define my dependent variable is whether or not there's any slips and falls, whether or not there's any injuries. So I'm literally counting the number of slips and falls, I'm counting the number of injuries, and that's how I'm operationally defining my variables. So my independent variable is defined by the type of shoe. My dependent variable is defined by the number of slips and falls, the number of injuries, and that's my operational definition. Next part is a description of the participants. Now, this is going to depend on the type of study that you're doing. So, like, let's say that I'm doing this on people who are working in fast food restaurants. So let's just say that I'm going to pick, a couple of McDonald's across the state. I'm gonna pick a few different McDonald's across the state. I'm gonna divide it up randomly. I'm gonna have half the employees wear non-slip shoes, half the employees wear just regular shoes, and I'm gonna follow them over the course of a month. That's what I'm gonna say. So I'm gonna have these all be McDonald's employees. I'm gonna follow them for a duration of the month. They could be ages, I guess, 18 and up, since that's a standard age for people participating in research. So I'll say that they're 18 and up. Let's just say 18 to 65, whatever. But they have to be a McDonald's employee at one of the places that I'm searching for. And that would be my participants. Methodology would be like how exactly you're going to carry out this experiment. So I already said that I'm pretty much going to do it where I'm following them over the course of a month, and I'm documenting how many slips and falls they have and how many injuries they have, whether they're wearing this non-slip shoes or the regular shoes. So that's my methodology. My methodology is following them for 30 days, which is a month, and trying to see how many people slip and fall, how many people have any kind of injury, and whether or not they're wearing the non-slip shoe or the regular shoe. And then the very last part of the experiment is discussing issues with reliability, validity, and bias. Now, all of these are going to be discussed in chapter 2, which is more going into the research in psychology. But reliability basically has to do with whether or not you're going to get consistent results over and over again. So I chose to do this with McDonald's employees. Would I get the same thing with Taco Bell employees? Would I get the same thing with Burger King employees? Would I get the same thing with Subway employees? Is this going to be consistent all across the board for everybody um who's doing fast food? One thing that could kind of get in the way with that is, let's say that there's different types of floors. Let's say that some restaurants might have different types of floors. Let's say McDonald's just got a better floor, or Taco Bell just has a slipperier floor. So it may mess up my reliability. So in that case, what I could do is just make sure that I consistently use this across, or take the type of floors that the restaurant actually uses into account. Or I could say that I'm going to make sure that the types of floors across whatever restaurant I use is going to be the same, basically. So trying to make sure that's not going to mess up my results. Validity has to do with accuracy. So are you really measuring what you say that you're measuring? So is it the shoe that is actually causing people not to slip and fall, or is it some other factor that's causing the people to not slip and fall? So in that case, one of the things that could really mess up validity in any kind of study is the number of participants that you have. So let's say that I do, like, 5 different McDonald's, but I only look at one employee in each one. In that case, that would kind of really mess me up because I'm only looking at one person. But if I look at all the employees across all of those McDonald's, and I have half of all the employees wear the non-slip shoes, half of all the other ones wear the regular shoes, then I can really get a clearer picture about whether the shoes are really causing the issue or not. And then bias has to do with whether there's anything that could potentially skew our study in one way or the other. So in this case, I'm talking about non-slip shoes. I'm talking about a fast food environment. In this case, I'm assuming that all of these people are working in an environment. We're thinking fast food. We're always thinking that the person's gonna be running and running and running and running. What if the restaurants are really not that busy? Because there's some restaurants where they got lines out the door all day, every day. But then some restaurants, they just be sitting there waiting for somebody to come. So it could be just like a bias on that part. It could be that it's not necessarily the shoe that's helping, or it could just be that the environment is so busy that that's what's causing these issues to occur. So bias, just I think we could try to take into account the busyness of the restaurant to try to make sure that we're not getting restaurants that are like, one is like has no busyness and the other one has too much busyness. We could try to make sure that we get a wide spectrum of restaurants depending on how busy they are, as well as try to get restaurants with the same level of busyness. So that could be another thing that I do. And then if I did all of that, my project will be done. So the way that you can do this is you can submit it either as a virtual poster board. You can make them on Canva, you can make them on Microsoft Word, you can make them on different things. So you could do like a visual of it. You could do a PowerPoint presentation, or if you don't feel like doing all that, what you could do is just make a video of you talking, like I'm talking right now, or you could do like an audio recording of you talking, basically. If you do choose to just do the video or the audio of you just talking about it, please submit a MP4 file or an unlisted YouTube link. The reason why I say one of those two is because if you submit other video files, it runs the risk of a chance of me not being able to open it. There are other files that I can open, but because I have a Windows computer, sometimes things get a little bit screwy, especially if you have like a Mac computer or something like that. So that's why I always say MP4 or YouTube. Or even if you make a video on like Canva or something, I can usually open that as well. And I believe Google does videos too, if I'm not mistaken. But if as long as it's something I can open with a Windows computer, you're good. All right. So that's the first assignment. So then if you scroll down after that first module, that's really your first assignment. After that, it's pretty much article dissections, exams, article dissections, exams, article dissections, exams, article dissections, exams, all the way down into the very last module. Now, I keep saying article dissections over and over again. You might be wondering, what the heck is an article dissection? Like, what are you talking about? So let's look at it. Let's look at the very first one. so I can show you what it looks like. Okay, so if you go into module 2, that's going to be our first article dissection. Basically, what an article dissection is exactly how it sounds. What you're going to be doing is reading an article, and the articles are going to be attached to the actual assignment. So if you actually click on the assignment, you're going to see that it's going to bring you to the instructions. It's going to have the same stuff that was on the actual link, but then the actual article will be there as well. So what you would do is you would click on that article, you would open it up, it will be a PDF. You're going to read that article, and after you read the article, you're going to see all these questions here. Now, these questions, the answers to these questions don't have to be turned in. What has to be turned in is a summary of the article based on the answers to these questions. So, like, let's say that you just jot down the answers on a piece of paper or something, or you type them out, whatever. Put whatever those answers are to these questions into paragraph form. Once you put those in a paragraph form, you have now constructed an article summary based on the questions from here. And then after you do that, I want you to create an APA style citation for that article. So answer these questions in paragraph form, put an APA style citation, and then submit or upload and submit it here. And then that's your article dissection. So that's how each one will go throughout the semester, and there'll be 5 different ones. Now, if you don't know how to do an APA style citation, I believe I have some instructions in one of these modules. Let me see if I added those in. One second. I believe I added some instructions, but let's see. So let's scroll down. Of course not. But I do have an example of how to do it. So if you go to our announcements, if you see the second announcement that is on our page, this actually shows how to do APA style. And I believe this is our first article or a second article, one of these articles. It showed you how to do the citation. So it shows you an APA style example, shows you another example, and then it shows you a third example, basically. But this is actually our second article dissection, I believe. So if you once you get to the second one, you can just kind of copy and paste this if you wanted to. But this basically just shows you how to do it. You put the author's names, you have to put their first and second initial, you got to put the year, the title of the article, title of the journal, issue number, page number, volume number, and then something called a DOI, which is basically like just a link to the article. Some articles won't have the DOI. If it doesn't have it, you don't have to include it, but every article should have all the other information. So that's how to do the APA style. If you still don't know how to do APA style after looking at this, because sometimes it could get tedious and sometimes people can get confused the very first time that they try to do it. You could always send me an email and ask if you did it correctly. Also, there's also resources online. So if you just Google like how to do APA style, there's different stuff out there, different resources to show you how to do it. So those are the article dissections. And then the exams, they're all multiple choice. They're all they either are 50 or 25 questions depending on how many chapters we have. So the first one would be 25 questions because that's only one chapter. The second one is going to be 50 questions. So like based on how many chapters there are is going to be how many questions is going to be. And there's multiple attempts on each one. Your final score is your highest score, and that's pretty much how those go. And all of your assignments will be due on Sundays at 11:59 p.m. And the due dates are always listed on the module. So February 16th would be your first due date. That's going to be for the assignments in that module. March 2nd is going to be the second due date. March 23rd, the third one, and then the list goes on and on. Once you get all the way down to the very last module, you'll see that this one is structured a little bit differently from the other ones. So the other ones, you're going to see article dissections and exams, but this one is going to have another presentation. So this one, this presentation is basically like reserved for the end of the semester. And basically what it is you're creating a PowerPoint presentation just saying 3 things that you learned throughout the semester. So the 3 things that you learned throughout the semester from all the things that we cover as we go through these 16 weeks. You're going to pick out 3 separate things. You can choose things from 3 different modules, 3 different chapters, as long as they are 3 separate topics. So they can't be 3 things underneath the same umbrella. They have to be 3 separate topics. And then you just have to explain what you learned about them, why you found them interesting, and that's pretty much it. So once you do that, you have to make sure that it's video or audio recorded. And make sure that your presentation is 5 minutes or less. Now the time thing, I'm not really like a stickler for that. So if you happen to go over 5 minutes, I don't really care. If you go under 5 minutes, I still don't care. The only thing I really care about this is that you actually explain the three things. You show that you actually know what you're talking about, and that there are three separate things. So it can't be three of the same topic. It has to be three separate topics across the semester. All right. So I believe that was it for like how the course is structured. I believe that's pretty much giving you a gauge of what we're going to be doing throughout the semester. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I did not mention. I don't believe that there is, but if anything does come up, if you do have any questions, feel free to email me. So my email address is listed in a few different places, but if you ever need to email me, it's tnstewart@stick.edu. So tnstewart@stcc.edu. Send me an email. If I don't get it the same day, I'll usually get it the next day, or if it's on a weekend, it might take a couple of days because things get crazy, but I will always write you back. So I will always write you back. Send me an email, I will respond. Any questions whatsoever, feel free to email me. All right. So let me stop sharing. All right. And welcome to Psych 101 once again. Hope you have a delightful, glorious, marvelous semester, and welcome to the first day of classes.